welcome, welcome. It is August 6th, 2025. Market's about to open here, and we are attempting to fumble yet another big recovery. It's good stuff. Mike. Hump day! It's Wednesday, baby. Wednesday. We have no real news today at all, so yet another low catalyst day. We have oil inventories at 10:30. We have a bond auction at 1 p.m., but that is it. Nothing. The end of the month, we have a lot going on. So not only do we have FOMC September 17th, which is the projected first rate cut, but you're going to start to see a lot of flapping of the gums about the rate cuts. We have Jackson Hole at the end of the month, which, if you remember, Jackson Hole is one of my favorite times of the year, baby. That's when J Powell comes out, looks a little diaphoretic, and the market starts to do a little crazy stuff. We have a potential tariff deadline tomorrow that the market is beginning to show some signs of protection against, but very little. Very little. And everything else is just humdrum, same old, same old. What's up, Hattie? Good morning. Good morning. A little bit of red here coming on down already. Right at the market open, we have 23,130 as support. Just getting things set up and rolling here. What's up, YouTube? How's it going? Welcome, welcome. I like Tory Trades Uncle more than Tory if I'm looking for straightforward day in the life trend line content. It's boring as heck compared to his niece, but straightforward and realistic. Doesn't trade data or meetings. Nice. You know whose YouTube channel I really like? Options Millionaire. Hopefully I have a great day. It'll be more than likely to be my last day until next Friday, leaving for the beach. Beautiful. Nice, McGabagooly. Keep it up. What's my thesis for the day? I'm still of the opinion that we have to go down before we go up. I mean, we had another major rally overnight that was immediately rejected again. So they're continuing to sell into resistance here to meet the criteria of the overall distribution. So although I did say yesterday, I kind of gave my little write-up yesterday, is that we had a tremendous sell-off yesterday that sold off again into the afternoon, which shows signs that we need to go lower. It fit my thesis from the week. So the beginning of the week, I started out Monday very bullish. I said they're going to bounce the living crap out of this market, and they did that. Tuesday, I said they were going to give it all back. They did most of that. So overall, I still think they're going to retest somewhere down near Friday's areas, and then after that, we'll determine what the next step is. But they are still dumping every little move here, and we'll see how things go today. Again, that's all fun and games here to kind of predict stuff and think about that stuff, but I still need the price action to tell me what it's doing. So we'll see how things go. Yesterday we had some of the largest put buying I've ever seen on the 0DT scale. Almost $5.5 billion of 0DTE puts were purchased into the afternoon, which is a tremendous amount. Friday, if you saw, Friday had the largest quantity of 0DTE notional ever purchased on Friday. So it's the most active the 0DTE charts have ever been, even more than 2021 and 2022, etc. Even more than the big sell-off of 2025 in the spring. Most ever. So the option chain is continuing to grow and become a huge player, if not the main driver of the market movement. And then on Friday, of course, we saw a tremendous amount of 0DT notional. What's up, Cliff Trades? First time on the live. Welcome, welcome. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Chillaxing. Doing your thing. I typically don't trade the first 15 minutes, so if you are new to the channel, don't expect a lot of trades in the first 15 minutes. If I do take a trade, it's usually pretty small position sizing. We'll see. The more options volume grows, won't that obscure the volume data? I mean, the market still has to have a maker. There still has to be participation, so the volume is still going to be a very big part of the market. And if it ever does, then we'll figure something out. But I still, the market's still going to be there. The volume is still going to be there. It's still going to be buying and selling because you have to have intrinsic value of the market, which is the underlying name, which is futures, options, stock, or the futures and stocks. And the options are just more value-based. So far we have a nice green candle here. NASDAQ is up about 80 points or so since the open. Maybe it goes into small supply from yesterday until the afternoon and then dump, possibly. We have a very green move into 23,220 on NASDAQ. ES has got this liquidity up here into 63.42, 63.50. They even have liquidity up to 80, even have liquidity up to 6,400. So the book at the moment has a lot of layers up to 6,400. So it is definitely heavy to the upside. We still have 63.20, but right now the skew is upside on the S&P as it goes now. We just tested overnight highs on NASDAQ and technically broke overnight highs on one single candle. On the S&P, not even close. If you look at SMCI, they are down 16% in pre-market trading due to lower than expected numbers for their forecast. VIX is down 1.3. They're still holding 17. Bonds are still holding 87.80. Yields are up. Yields are up. Let's see here. This is my current micro trend line set up on GC for the day to monitor changes in the algorithms. August 1 trend line is a 1 hour week, but 1 week of data is a minor. Nice. Nice. All right, a little bit of red here back down. So they just flushed the ES just flushed the whole range in one single candle and then already bottom wicking. So yeah. We are going to watch this baby. Get things going. Get things going. Liquidity down to 63.20. Looking across the rest of the market. Oil bounced aggressively once again right before my target. It keeps on doing it. It's like it knows that I want 64.80. And it checked up twice now. But my time will come with oil. Gold is still kind of faltering up here in the 34.24 realm. And the S&P is still hanging out 63.30. Let's get this. What's up, Dan? Danny Gabagoo over here. You got the gagoots. You got the gagoots. Here comes the red. Here comes the red. Watch the thesis, baby. Watch the thesis. GC is also showing a multi-day consolidation triangle in the 1 hour. Nice. Nice. 63.29. Here's the prior wick. If they take that out, they're going to go seeking. NASDAQ just got absolutely wrecked. Massive red. And now they're going to test 142 after rejecting the overnight high. Beautifully, beautifully, beautifully rejected. Yeah, like I said, if you're not already, I'm extending the trading competition until Friday, the entry form of the trading competition until Friday. So make sure you get that put in there, and then I'm going to figure out a way to confirm everyone in there, and we're going to get rolling with it, seeing who can get that $1,000. VIX is pushing. What's up, Polar Bear, man? How you doing? All right, so we have 21 million in calls. We have 291 million in puts. And we're still dropping. Yeah, not an entry form. I don't have an entry form yet, but I'll figure out a way to confirm entries. I couldn't hop on the stream the last 2 days. What's the thesis? Also had a 5-hour drive each way over the weekend. I crushed a ton of podcasts. Beautiful. So you were the one listening to the podcast this weekend. Very cool. Yeah, new episode's coming out this week, so be ready for it. But I appreciate you consuming the content, baby. It's good stuff. Listen to the sweet words of OM on the drive. A little bit of a wick here. We have 6320 on ES. NASDAQ has 23,137 here. So this looks like it's going to breach, at least now. VIX is still rocketing here. I'm still looking for my thesis to fulfill. My thesis to fulfill. You remember, I talk about this all the time. Do you remember the YouTube video that Dan posted like a year ago about memorizing chart patterns? About if you have a good memory of what the market cycles do, you could start to become profitable. You could start to think about what the market's doing. And then I usually follow up with, they don't talk about patterns in terms of wedges and head and shoulders and, you know, Papa John's and all this stuff. They don't care about that. They're talking about how the market reacts every single time we have a move. And the whole reason I was able to guess this price action perfectly the past 3 days is exactly because of that. They do the same exact thing every single time. Slow, steady grind up that's relentless. They finally plunge it lower. People freak out and chase the shorts, and they bounce it back up aggressively. People try to play the V recovery and chase along, and then they crash it back down. It's exactly what they do every single time. If you can understand that concept, it's very, very simple. You can learn to kind of pick out what to do and sit on your hands, because eventually this is going to roll down to 6,000. But most traders are going to get blown out before that happens because they're going to try to short every little fake out, and then once they have no equity left, no capital left, then the market's going to roll back over. So don't chase the initial moves. Set yourself up for success by chasing the follow-on confirm moves once the order book is kind of skewed. Once the order book is wiped up and the imbalance is created, then you play. Then you play. I prefer the Domino's pattern over Papa John's. Hey, better trend lines, better EMAs, Papa John's. VIX is pushing, baby. VIX is pushing. Yeah, watch that video. It's good stuff. At no point does he say anything about technical analysis. I love you, Dan. You got to see all the Romas I got on my counter. I got like 15 pounds of Romas I'm about to make some sauce with. It's good stuff. 23,190 here liquidity. Very, very light, but it's there. So far we have call selling, put buying. We have top wick galore on the 5-minute. Right here. What are y'all doing on the YouTube? Anything fun? We are almost to the 745, or the 945 candle. If you're on Polymarket betting website, you can now bet on the odds of another phallic-shaped object being thrown onto the basketball court of a WNBA game on Friday. The world we live in, baby. The world we live in. Imagine making money off that. Hey, how'd you make your first million? Well, I bet on a dong being thrown out on the basketball court. Grandpa, can you tell me about your $1,000,000? Well, son, put up a chair. Pull up a chair. Why wouldn't you max bet that and go to the game yourself and do it? Hey, that's a free money. That's free money right there. 63.34. 63.20 is a pretty wide volume node. Either we hold it or 63.60 again, or go down to 63.02. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. When's the next bet for what color tie J-Pow is going to wear? That'll be interesting. He's usually been sticking to purple lately. So, yeah. So far, we're back and forth. Back and forth. I'm only a listener that can't manage trades while working. There you go, side gig. That's all right. I'll try to speak sweet nothings into the ear. All right, another top wick. We have a very minor 5-minute trend line here that I'm sure it's noticing a little bit of wedge pattern. Overall, we are sticking to the general down theme here of the S&P, and if this gives out, I think I might go ahead and start looking for my first trade of the day here. As long as I have a little bit of volume inflow, which we do have on the 1 minute. We don't have it manifest on the 5 minute yet, although the candle just started. I believe this week I'm going to go ahead and sign up for 5 additional accounts and go for some copy trading. Try to make some big money. Problem to make the big bucks. Oh yeah, Chubbs? What kind of big bucks? Bright red. 63.30 right here. 63.40 is liquidity. Remember, we have no data today. We're not waiting for anything at 10 o'clock. Zilch. So it's all pure price action, baby. Yep, Alaskan time. Yep. Full porting XRP, negative. Oh man, back and forth. Back and forth. I'm sorry to ask again, but what's the thesis? My thesis is overall downward. I think they're going to go lower before they go higher. My thesis on Monday was incredibly bullish. I came in to start the week thinking they were going to smoke all the shorts and rally the crap out of the market, and that's what happened. Then my thesis was they're going to smoke all those who were chasing the V recovery, and they did that. Now, I still think we're going to test somewhere down in Friday's lows. I don't know how they're going to do it. It could be today. It could be Friday. Heck, it could be next week. But I do think that we have initiated the small correction phase that it will most likely retreat somewhere down to Friday's lows, and then after that we'll kind of evaluate what the deal is here, but not without wrecking the tape here. Especially now that the probabilities of the first rate cut coming in September are rocketing, the market is going to begin to price in the next environment. We have Jackson Hole at the end of the month. We have the changing out of the Fed chair coming up here in a few months, if not weeks, if not days. We have new members being added, new voting members being changed out already, as one has already stepped down. We have the rate cut coming in September, and then another one probably in, I don't know, December. So we have a lot of changes coming along that the market's going to begin to shape up. And that begins in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 340 million in calls, 241 million in puts. Why is Tesla opposite to NASDAQ? Tesla's been a little bit of a mind of its own lately the past year. especially with all the political nonsense that's been going back and forth with Tesla. They've been highly emotionally motivated. I mean, they've held support, though. That's a beautiful thing. This little prior resistance, new support, they've held it. Two major crashes down into 292, both have held. Two of them almost got down there, and they held. And here we are just going back up. So I still think this is a cumulative price action on Tesla, which means, I think, up. Based on the fact that every single time the price action drops on Tesla, we have high volume, high volume, high volume. Every single time we drop down. So that just shows that we have a little bit of accumulation here. And I think that's going to lead to some higher prices. Not to mention, do you remember those two jabronis from the movie The Big Short? You ever seen the movie The Big Short? I'm sure everyone has. The two kids that were also trying to catch the trade they talk about, you know, the guys that only had like $13 million or something like that. Do you remember how they made their money? They made their money by understanding that whenever the market posts some sort of catalyst or data and the individual name reacts to that, that the market tends to overreact to news. So they would just play the overreaction trade. So if there's a gigantic sell-off based on earnings or news, they would just play the upside of it after it bounced, and they end up turning like 100 grand into like 30 million or something like that. So the market does tend to overreact because of fear and greed. So when Tesla continues to dip with all the political driven news headlines over the past year, every one of them is getting crashed back up with massive volume. If you can wait for those opportunities for volume to come in, it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Another red candle here, top wick back over. Looks like the Trump will be making comments today, later this afternoon, about Apple, appears. All right, large red here, coming down. ES has crashed back over. We're kind of back and forth in 10-point swings. NASDAQ once again rejecting the top wick with volume. We have a high volume inflow right here. Beautiful stuff. Coming back over. On down. I'm testing my first trade of the day here. Let's see what this turns into. I got to get my IBKR cranked up now. 1 second. The only bad thing about IBKR is that you have to do the authentication, which takes a little time. You can't just log in. You got to authenticate and do all the fun stuff, which is, I guess, is a good thing. Keeps you safe. Keeps you safe. Did I already check SMCI? I did. Yeah, they're down big time, like 16% or so. We have 163 million in calls, 420 million in puts right here. Right here. No data here in 8 minutes. Zero. Another bottom wick. Bottom wick galore. NVIDIA in August will fail. What does that tell you about FCC News down? I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. The ES is hollowing out this range back and forth. They are whipsawing the 63.40, 63.25 zone aggressively right here. Aggressively. Calls are back and forth. If you notice the calls, though, they are buying and selling calls aggressively, but the puts are remaining. The puts are steadily, increasingly being purchased. Calls are being bought and sold. It's like they're just scalping the large-scale calls here. Right there. We have overlapping VPOCs. Yep. Massive hammer candle on NASDAQ, and that just stopped me out. First trade of the day is a loss. Fantastic. Massive volume, top wick, immediately hammered that candle all the way back up. That was a 50, 60-point hammer candle right there. So, there you go. Big wicks. Authentication on a meat popsicle. Yep. Massive hammer candle. We have liquidity up to 63.50. We have 23,250 there, which is a topside liquidity. But if you look on NASDAQ, we have nothing on the books. It's just a vast expanse of nothingness after this one little level here. So I don't like the option chain data. It's flapping back and forth here between major buying and major selling every couple of minutes. ES is climbing, and they're just whipsawing this thing back and forth. I don't like it. I don't like it. All right, stupid authentication code. 1 second. Nope, not there. Am I there? Okay. All right, good to go. Bounced right off that 4-hour trend line when zoomed in. Oh yeah, didn't catch the trend line. Gold has engulfing green on the 5. Let's see, engulfing green. Yeah, I'm still waiting for gold, man. You know, gold has treated me very, very well, and it's been a while since I've traded it simply because it keeps missing my limits. But I'm waiting my turn with gold. RTY still getting hammered, which is more indication that we're not going to hold any green today. Dow and Russell are both getting smoked today, smoked in a pancake. Just a very weird open so far. They're just whips on everything. But I'll get something going, baby. I'll get something going. First time I've heard whipsaw in quite some time. Nice, Dova. Beautiful. All right. Amazon Prime and Ice Cube are being accused of releasing the world's worst movie in human history. I love it. War of the Worlds. We have skewed to 23,250. The options data is quite light. No shot on Microsoft Teams. They forgot about this. It's really bad. I don't know. Happy Gilmore 2 is pretty dang bad. That's pretty awful. That's up there with one of the worst movies I've ever seen, too. I'm short Meta with a monthly expiration. Nice, Proggy. Another top wick here. What are they going to do here? We still have liquidity at 23,250, and they're whipsawing this thing back and forth. There's not a lot of confidence here. Not yet, at least. We'll get something. We'll get something going. But not yet. You've heard a lot of good things about it? No, it's awful. It's absolutely awful. Even the cameos were lazy. Thank you. Well, 3 C's. ES is dojied out, smack dab in the middle of the range. R2Y is down, Platinum is rocketing, Dow's down. Saw someone on X say the difference between Happy 2 is that you're not 16 anymore. I don't agree. The thing is, like, Happy Gilmore 1, it was still a seriously done movie. It was a comedy. Happy Gilmore 2 is a joke. Like, they made it all into a gag. It wasn't like a true movie. It just seemed like they were just doing a gag after gag after gag. It was childish. Is the difference. So it was hard to watch. Whereas Happy Gilmore 1 is still amazing. It's still a well done movie. It's a serious movie. It's just a comedy. It's like a seriously done movie, I should say. It's just a comedy. I don't know. That's just my opinion. All right, let's go to the longer time frames. What do you have here on the 4-hour chart? What do you see? High volume, bounce into the 6370. Multiple top wicks, roll back over. They hammered it, and then they smoked the hammer. So I still remain, based on thesis last night, that the main macro target to really start coming on down to Friday's lows is in this 6,300 ballpark right here. Now they still have liquidity a little bit lower. They're still kind of back and forth. I'm just kind of carving things out here, seeing what we got. Trump signs an executive order imposing an additional 25% on India, tariff on India. Preparation is the secret to confidence. There can be no great courage when there is no confidence or assurance. Half the battle is in the conviction that you can accomplish what you undertake. With practice, you'll come to a point of competence. You'll find yourself accomplishing your goals with grace and confidence. It's then that you'll do things that you've never dreamed to do. You'll discover powers you never knew existed. If you're prepared, you'll be able to feel confident. Confidence doesn't come out of nowhere. It's the result of constant work and dedication. Joint opinion. Reboots use a name that is low with none of the energy. I don't know, man. Top Gun 2 was fantastic. It was fantastic. I was a big fan of Top Gun 2, and I was not looking forward to it, but yeah. That's right, Lanner. That's right. Just finished filling out my first TPT Pro account. Not for the OM comp, but I'm passing that today. Yeah, buddy. Nice soda. Keep it up. Keep it up. Is CWST still a play? It wasn't a play yet. It was only on my watch list. So make sure you make the distinction. It blew right through support. Coming on down. If we can get this little level, 90C94, that would be even better. It's an even larger. But look what we have here. We do have high volume coming into this area on the way down. So if we have a high volume bottom, it will certainly be a name. We took out this little support like it wasn't even there. And if we can get the 3 criteria at 97.13, 100%. But remember, these are tier 2 names, so try to keep those questions into the tier 2 channel, please. Took a few micros on gold with ejection of 5-minute POC, 15-minute volume shelf, macro. Just broke micro trending. More of a confidence trade. Nice. Nice. Well, right now they're just whipsawing the range. We have $1 billion in calls just hit the tape in about 30 seconds, so something must have just hit the tape. Trump, no, nothing yet in the news channel. First day using Bookmap is amazingly see the resistance levels. Yeah, Bookmap's pretty fantastic. I'm a big fan of it, obviously. I'm an affiliate of Bookmap. The order book on ES is exceptionally light today. The only big levels we have, at least that are close, are 63.85 and then 6,400. So the skew is to the upside here. So the larger term stuff is way down, but that's like long term stuff. Now, despite my thesis of what I think is going to happen, the order book and the option chain right now are still saying bullish. As of now. Not to mention we have now bought up 3 different rejections of the 63.45 area on the S&P. So I don't know. I'm still out to lunch here in terms of what I'm going to do. I attempted a quick scalp there, didn't work out. That's okay. I'm buying some 30-day Palantir puts. There you go. This is what they call a retail battleground. It was a firefight. Still going green, baby. Going green. NASDAQ is launching. ES is launching even higher. So they're buying everything up. Everything looks bullish up until this point. 1.2 billion in calls right now. We have 6350 liquidity to the upside. I turned off my aftermarket hours showing on my charts, and I think I prefer it. What do y'all do? On the S&P, I leave on my aftermarket data. But I don't trade aftermarket typically unless we have a very large pivot that's approaching. Right now, we're kind of in no man's land. We're not really at any kind of major areas, so you have to analyze what we have based on the 3 criteria. All signs right now are pointing to bullishness so far. The skew on the book is exceptionally higher. 6360, 6380, 6400. We have 1.21 billion in calls being purchased, and obviously they're bottom wicking everything here. So there you go. There you go. Trade of 8 lagged out. Yeah. I'm on daily charts because the hourly started chopping up my trades. It may be irrelevant. Only enter on aggressive moves. Work twice. Nice. Now the trading views lagged out. I think that's your Canadian internet, dude. Probably requires you to pay like $14.99 to continue your internet usage. $1.3 billion in calls. They're piling in calls here. They're piling into them. The overnight high in the S&P is 6358. So far, they're bottom wicking everything. We had volume hit that one candle. They just took out the major top wick on the 15. So they went high volume top wick on the 15 and then aggressive green candle. So they followed it up with that. Oh, man. 3 criteria would have kept some out of shorting that top wick 15-minute candle. Yeah, definitely. 100%. CL's dropping? Yeah, it is. Ooh, give it to me. It's a big old top wick. Right off this little area. We're going to melt up or break down here? I don't know. Right now, the data says up. Obviously, things can change in a second. But I really want this oil at 6480. I want it. I've been waiting for it for weeks. I got spoiled, man. I had that 1 week a few weeks ago where everything was hitting my levels. And now I haven't had a level hit in a while. I say my levels. I hate that. They're not my levels. It's just observation of major pivots. They're hitting my levels. So we've been stuck here for about 4 or 5 minutes, right at the highs. NASDAQ is still buying up. Maybe a blast up to overnight highs on top wick. Nasdaq has already blown through overnight highs. ES not quite there yet. So there's a little bit of divergence here, which adds another level, another layer of difficulty. The S&P itself is mixed, and that's why. We have about half and half red and green here. Apple is up 3.5%. That's probably leading to a lot of why the tech is rocket ships. Tesla's also up 2%. Everything else is either mediocre or barely green. VIX is still dropping 17.15, and this is the baseline for the week right here at about 17. All right, so looking here on the 5-minute, very low volume on these two candles. Just waiting. So on TPT, the accounts have profit targets. Is that a weekly goal? On the evals, no. That's the goal to pass the account. So yeah, a little bit of red. What typically happens with low volume? Trends. I mean, not typical. I mean, that's a widespread. That's a wide question there. So on a trend, let's talk about that. On a trend up or a trend down, typically the volume drops off as the trend goes further along. Volume drops, volume drops, volume drops, volume drops. Grindy trend. And then when you see a high volume inflow, that typically means we've either hit a support or a demand, or a supply or demand. In this case, it would be a supply. So that's what I'm looking on here, and we don't have any high volume. It's not to say we can't sell off with it. You can, but that's the confident area. Now, a session like today, and I'd like to impose a challenge to you. A session like today, we're not anywhere near an overnight low yet. We're approaching the overnight high. We're not near a weekly high and low. So anything you take here, you have to have strict confirmation. This is the day that I would want to wait for the 3 criteria instead of front run. Now, if we come up and tap 63.60, maybe I'll front run a little trade there. But you want to, like, the higher, there are going to be days and weeks, some weeks that you never touch an outlier move, an outlier level on any names you see, which means you have to trade less frequently. Now, do you have the discipline to have that kind of restraint to not trade when there's nothing touching? Because the difference between scalpers and a trader, scalpers analyze every single candle for an entry. Traders wait until they have a signal and or a level touch to trade. Drop them back over. They're still maintaining puts, 540 million in puts, and now they're selling the calls back over. So they're manipulating the calls back and forth. There's a lot of activity in the calls, both selling and buying, but the puts are staying strong. Nasdaq is leading because of Apple. They will fade this by Friday. Nice. What would you want to see for a short here? I mean, they just did it in one big candle. I mean, that was already another 10-point red candle here. They need to be under the 63.47. I would say 63.47.75, which it looks like they're going to, by the time you get any kind of confirmation, it's going to be at the bottom of the range already. Apple is way up at 3.5%. That's because of the new initiative by Trump. A new, I think, $100 billion investment or something like that. So Apple's flying. top wick. Hit my daily profit on all accounts. Now time to review and call it a day. Nice, Sir Whiffington. Well done, buddy. Discipline equals freedom. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hard work pays off, baby. What about it? Trend line again? What we got? 589 million in puts, 680 million in calls. So they've sold off about 70% of the calls that were on the books. Puts remain strong, baby. Puts remain strong. Red candles. Oh, man. Well, I had a conversation with a member yesterday that, I had to reiterate that, you remember back in April and May, I was getting wrecked. I had a fantastic Q1, and then I was getting wrecked. And I think a lot of it had to do with my exhaustion in and out of the server. And that forced me to take a step back and just wait and do less. And I think that grossly led to my success in the summertime, and of course now, is just doing nothing most of the time. A little bit of red coming back over. So we do have a confirmed 3 criteria. Well, I guess 2 criteria. We had very, very light volume still. Not the best of entries in terms of volume, because we have just a very small inflow, which still categorizes light. But they still, regardless, wrecked it down 15 points on ES. So they're just kind of back and forth there. Not a lot of high confidence entries at the moment, for me at least. For me. You could have one, not me. And that's okay. For NASDAQ, same thing. So with this big climb up into supply, no volume inflow whatsoever, and they wreck it down 70 points on NASDAQ. So my system would not have identified that move on NASDAQ, and it didn't, nor ES. Now, yes, you could have played some momentum below the 63.47, of course, but you're going to have to realize that you don't have volume there, so it's not going to be the greatest confidence. So you have to lower the position sizing. But can you make those decisions that quickly? Getting glorious rain here in Iowa. I've been the wettest since 1971. Yeah, here too. Here too. It's been the weirdest summer ever. Very cool relatively, and a lot of rain. A lot of rain. This whole year has been very wet. We had a very wet spring too. I think we're going to have a mild winter with a lot of snow based on how summer has gone. A mild winter with a lot of snow? I don't know. Last winter was brutal for our chickens and crops. We had a pretty mild winter last year. I remember wearing t-shirts like a lot of the year. We had like one cold spell, but that was it. Just like this summer, we had one heat. Like the first week of summer was brutally hot. It was like 118 degrees of heat index or something like that. And then after that, it was like, hey, this ain't too bad. Like, hey, it was like 62 degrees here like 3 days ago in northern Alaska. All right, so the S&P is not bouncing. We had this little red down into the 63.40. If they give this out, you can play down to the overnight low here. The CVD has gone drastically red. The NASDAQ is looking for 23.2. Very wiki stuff. bit of red still. A little bit of red still. What are we going to do? We had a crazy hot summer and drought, and then a cold, crazy winter. China continues to have a lot of snow. Yeah, definitely. I can't even find an entry anymore. That's all right. I've taken one entry today and it was a loss. It's fine. It happens. This is not the best day. When I place a trade, you have to remember, when I place a trade, I want to take a trade that's going to give me the probability of a large move. And if it turns into a small scalp, then so be it. Right now, we're just shaking and baking. Shaking and baking. We've had 2 days now of very large moves. This is just the grinder day. The rain has flooded our garden multiple times this summer. Yeah, definitely. The good thing about my garden is that it's on a hill, so there's a slope to the garden, so it naturally drains off, which is nice. Day 3 of 75 I had. Easy money. I think I'm taking the day off. Focus on my real estate test. There you go. Do it. Well done on starting that. A little bit of red. 23.2. And if that breaks, NASDAQ has 137. Where does that put NASDAQ at? 137 is going to be right at this pivot. Still dropping. They are selling calls here. Bookmap day, yep. So in 8 minutes, we'll be switching over to Bookmap and Bookmap server. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get notifications of the YouTube live going. A little bit of red coming down still. Nice little move. Dropping. Heading down to the low side of the range here. We have no volume spikes, but we definitely have continued price action and close under. We have 760 million in puts, and they're selling calls and buying puts down to 23,133. Kill the groundhog. We're having a terrible time with tomato hornworms. Like, we have billions of those freaking worms. Every day we're out there pulling dozens of them off. There we go. NASDAQ's coming down. ES is coming down. New low of the day for RTY. ES just put in a new low of the day as well. Sweeping red candles. That is a 23-point red candle. On down. Still going. On down. The bottom is down. Beautiful stuff, dude. Beautiful stuff. $63.27. Go out at night with a black light. We tried that. It didn't work. We actually yesterday we went and bought a black light and tried it last night. Didn't work. We couldn't tell the difference between the plants and the worms. Did you try 7 Dust? We're an organic garden, so we can't put that on there. I'd rather not poison my children. If Dan's been there with a care, yeah, tell me. All right, 63.28 here. If this fails, we're going lower. Here's the test. Coming on down. 63.26 will lead us to 13 or so. Aggressive move. I just purchased a second TPT account in order to participate in the competition. Are we supposed to begin the evaluation trading now or wait until? No. Go ahead and start. So basically what's going to happen, I'm going to find a way to get people to confirm that they're in the competition. But if someone comes to me and say, hey, I passed it, give me my $1,000, I'm going to look at when they started it, as long as it's in this 2-week window, and I'm going to look at did they actually hit the criteria, and then I'll pay them the money. And of course, there's going to be some discretion there. So if I see someone trying to game the system, no bueno. You ain't getting your money. I had to buy a stuffed coyote and put it in my backyard. The good thing is there's many uses for that stuffed coyote. Have you tried diatomaceous earth? I have. Actually, that was the only thing that seemed to slow them down, which is silicon dioxide. What's the app you have down left with the options tab? That is called Spot Gamma. Spot Gamma, which I am an affiliate of because I believe in their product. That's an options flow data. New low of the day for ES dropping. Are they going to do it or not? It looks like they want that 137. 137. Don't chickens eat tomato hornworms? They do, but they'll also eat your tomatoes too. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. NASDAQ is going to wreck this thing. Watch this. It's going to wreck yourself before you check yourself, or something like that. And then they're going to grab that 137. $63.28. There you go. All right, one more minute. All I see is stream. Yeah, so you see my charts right here on Bookmap. If you go down to the video aspect of the charts of the voice channel, you'll see my stream. 63.27 here on ES. NASDAQ is testing this area here before absorption, which looks like it's going to go, but they have been known to fail me today already. Cash in on the prop. Yeah, buddy. Do it. Do it. All right, y'all. I'm going to shut the stream off, and I'm going to start it back up on Discord server. So just bear with me. It'll be about 60 to 90 seconds, and we'll get it wrapped up, and I'll ping y'all when it's back on. So there you go. Did we lose Gaz? Yeah, he elected to not re-up his membership, unfortunately. That was a bummer. I like Gaz. Can you join the Discord? Yes, you can. Links down in the description of this video. Head over to the website, sign up, and choose which plan you want, and then come over and join the Discord. It's good stuff. And then shoot me a DM. Why did Gaz leave? I don't know. I reached out to him and DM'd him, but he never responded. And then that was it. So he didn't tell me. I know he got real quiet a couple of weeks ago, and then eventually left. So you might know what that means. I don't know. All right, y'all. I'll be back.